Today's guest has a very unique ability and profession. Author of The Amazing Afterlife of Animals and Hear All Creatures, an award winning afterlife expert and animal communicator, she is known as a pet loss and afterlife specialist that has helped thousands of people with grief and the loss of their pet. Over 23 years of experience, I'd like to welcome Karen Anderson to the show. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing great, Dylan. Thanks so much for taking time with me today. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is wonderful. I'm pretty excited. Like we talked off air, I haven't had a guest, on this type of topic yet, so it's pretty exciting. And it's a topic that, to be honest with you, I don't really know a whole lot about. So I can't wait to kind of dive in and kind of pick your brain and see, how this all works. So I guess just maybe where you could start. You're able to communicate with animals? Is this psychically or?
Absolutely. So the word psychic is a little bit general. So what I will share with you is, do you have pets at home?
Yes.
Okay. So as a pet parent, you know that there are different forms of communication. We have the verbal, I hate to call them commands. We have our verbal communication. We can read their body language. If someone wants to go OUT, we can tell, or if they're hungry or whatever, we get a sense. So above and beyond that, Dylan, is the energy realm. The energy realm is what carries my messages. That's where the messages transpire that I'm able to intercept. So for instance, you might get a sense that there's something wrong with one of your pets at home. Maybe it's a health issue, maybe there's something going on with them that you just get a sense. There's not even a physical or visual clue. You're doing my job there. You're picking up on the energy of what's going on with that pet. You're not going based on what you're seeing. You're not going based on what they're doing. You're tapping into the energy, this exchange of energy between the two of you. So I basically read energy, and pets can send us energetic messages, and I intercept those messages and then translate them to the pet parents.
So you work with living pets, and then you also work with people who are grieving over lost pets, correct?
Correct. Anyone who has lost a pet, oh, the pain that goes along with that, and the grief and the guilt that we feel, and how we run questions through our mind over and over again. Did I do the right thing? Did I make the right choices? Did they struggle? Were they in pain? I mean, sometimes we carry this guilt and this grief around with us for years and decades. I know I did. And animal communication covers all animals, living or deceased. So the process is exactly the same. It's actually easier for me to connect with a departed pet than it is to connect with a living pet, because if you think about it, there's no physical body to distract. There's a departed pet is pure energy, and that's what I read, is pure energy. So it's almost like getting a download of information from that pet.
That's fascinating. I think oftentimes, when people think of, life on the other side, they always think of human beings, but I think it's, obviously them being an energy being too, it's pretty cool that you can tap into animals. And I think it gives people hope too, that, your animal survives past the physical life that it once had. And that kind of goes into a little thing that I had a reading one time with a psychic medium. It was actually, she was reading and picking up on my father, and he had actually brought up that there was a dog with him, and it kind of sparked my interest a little bit. But then she was able to touch on, like, she says, well, it's not his dog and it's not your dog either. She's like, it's a shared animal that was like maybe a family pet or something like. And then she started picking up on cues and things about my dog, and I thought that was really cool. Is that something that's kind of like what you're able to do?
Right. It's actually just the opposite of what I do. So my goal has always been to connect with the animals first, because I love them so much, and I have tons of them of my own. But my first and true love is for the animals. So when I connect, I open up a space for that animal's energy to come in. And then, just like the opposite of what you were saying, I will have departed humans come through. So that the pets come through first because
Wow.
they're part of your soul group. Then whoever is in your soul group, including departed human loved ones, can also come through. It's like opening a door to everyone that you're connected to on the other side. So I start with the pet, and then whoever wants to come through with that pet can do so.
That is so fascinating. So how did you get started on this journey, this calling, if you will, to help other people and to help, I guess, the lost pets?
It is a crazy journey. It's one that started a long time ago. When I was just a little kid, I could understand my childhood pets, but I thought everyone could understand them. So I was not aware that I was doing something unique or different. I just thought everyone knew what the animals were thinking. Plus, I grew up in Southern California and we used to go to Disneyland all the time. And if you think about it, all of Disneyland, there's talking animals everywhere. And all the Disney movies, Jungle Book and Bambi, I mean, all of my favorites, all the animals could talk. So as a kid, I never thought they couldn't talk. I always just assumed they could. So that just grew into, for me, a normal fascination with understanding them on a higher level. And fast forward, many decades later, I became a police officer in Colorado, and I worked in a mountain district southwest of Denver at about 8,500 feet in a little town called Bailey. And I was working alone on many of my shifts. I did not have a backup car, I did not have a partner, and I'd have to respond to many of these calls by myself. And so, just for my own personal safety, I began to start reading the energy of the suspects and criminals and different people that I was coming into contact with, not realizing what I was doing. But that's really where everything snowballed, was back when I was a police officer. So, like I said, kind of a crazy journey, but now that I look back on it, it kind of makes sense.
That's interesting. So you were able to use that. Is it kind of like an empathic feeling or a vibe that you would get from your suspects? Now,
Right.
go ahead.
Exactly. It's like a gut feeling. Most cops will call it a gut feeling. Well, it's not a gut feeling, it's your intuition. That's you or picking up on something. If you've ever walked into a room after two people have been arguing, they're not arguing anymore, but you can almost cut the air with a knife. It's so thick in there because they've just been, screaming at each other or whatever. That's energy. You're picking up on the energy, the transference of energy that happened in that space. So that's what I was doing. Again, I didn't realize it at the time. I was very clueless at the time as far as intuitive abilities were concerned. I was just trying to be a good cop and stay safe and go home at the end of my shift. So that's where it all really started.
And then you realized that you were able to do this, and that not everybody necessarily could pick up on that or do it maybe as well as you. Did you think back to like the animals? How did it convert over to working with animals?
Well, I had been revisiting my desire to learn how to understand the animals because I had quite a few animals at the time and I was having some behavior issues at home. So I was trying to understand them. So I was going back and revisiting my ability as a child to understand animals. So if you can imagine, on the side, I was practicing animal communication, and then I go to my day job, which is being a cop. And what really kind of kicked it off was out of the clear blue, I started getting messages from animals on the crime scenes that I was responding to,
Whoa,
right?
that's cool.
So I did what you just did. I went, what? No way. And here's the real clincher, they were accurate. Their messages. So unlike interviewing a human suspect um, at a crime scene, you might get three different stories, or there might be a lie in there somewhere. The message from an animal is pure, it's honest,
It
it's
would
exactly
snitch out the suspect.
right. Right. So my mind was like blown, and I went, oh my gosh, what else can animals tell me? And that's really where I was so hooked. I was like, this is so mind blowing. I mean, who can even wrap their head around that? I was having a hard time wrapping my head. I was a cop, you know, you have to have evidence and proof to have a case, right? And here I'm communicating with pets on crime scenes. It's not like I could put that in my report. It's not like I could say my confidential informant had four legs and a tail, right? You can't do that.
Right.
So I was just kind of keeping it to myself and not telling anyone and going, whoa, this is really cool. What else can I find out? And lo and behold, it happened several more times. And the information was so accurate, it was mind boggling. And it got my attention.
That is impressive. Now, so I think oftentimes people view animals as maybe less than human, or below maybe. Can you kind of compare, or maybe it's the same, let people know like spiritually or energetically the differences, or if it's the same similarities, and you know that kind of thing?
I would say, every animal is different. If you've had several pets throughout your lifetime, you know that some of them are just really intelligent and really focused and, you know, smart, is if we want to put it in that category. And then others, not so much. So I'm going to speak in generals here just because every pet is so different and so unique. But what I have found is that on average, like if I take 100 animals that I've communicated with, you're going to have a certain percentage that are super intelligent and super percentage that are not, and then most are going to fall right into the middle. The the things that they can comprehend, in my opinion, based on my experience, are that of about a 9 or 10-year-old child. So they can't grasp really big concepts like euthanasia. Pets don't know what euthanasia is, but they understand what their life ending. They understand that. So it's kind of in the wording and how you word it. Or like I had a client one time ask me if their pet knew who they should vote for, like who would be the next best president. And they don't care. Why would they care about that? They have
Right.
no clue what's going on in the political agenda. So there's certain topics that are just, not, they're not interested in that.
It's not really relevant to them either, right? I mean,
Exactly. Their favorite topic is themselves, and their second favorite topic is themselves, and you kind of get the picture there.
that's pretty cool. um So then from there, you just decided you were going to go out and start your own business, or you had people that were coming to you needing help? No, they knew that, or they heard that you could speak with animals.
Well, I was like hook, line, and sinker at that point. I was so into it, and I was telling everyone about it, kind of coming out from hiding, if you will, of keeping this a secret from everyone. And that's when I realized that not everybody was so excited about my work as an animal communicator. And in fact, most people thought I was completely nuts. And my own family thought I had lost it. They thought it was bad enough I wanted to be a cop. And then when I announced I was leaving law enforcement to pursue animal communication, they were like, okay, yeah, she's really lost it. And so I went through this whole phase of losing a lot of relationships and people who I thought were my friends because nobody believed me. Nobody believed that I could really do this. So I started conducting sessions for clients, and that's when I realized how powerful the messages can be and how much healing comes from those messages. Most people who wanted a session were having some kind of an issue, whether it be a health issue, behavior problem, an end of life concern, or they wanted to make contact in the afterlife. And I started to observe what happened to that client when I delivered a message, there was so much healing that took place. Even when they were in the depths of grief after the loss of a pet, I would deliver one little message and you could literally just feel the weight lifting off them, and you could see the healing start to come into their life again where they had been in such a dark place before. And that's what really made me realize my passion was to help people understand that life doesn't end upon physical death, that there's more that happens, that energy continues on. Your pets continue to live in the afterlife without a physical body. They stay connected to us throughout our entire lifetime, and they're there to greet us when we make our transition. It's a powerful, amazing, and healing perspective when you can get to that place and realize that goodbye is not goodbye. Goodbye is just until we meet again.
That's fascinating. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you believe in reincarnation?
I didn't until I got into this work. I was like, no way. I
So
said,
I have a question about that then. These
okay.
animals that are when they reincarnate, do they become another animal, or are they able to reincarnate as human, or just the same as for humans, are they able to reincarnate as an animal?
Okay, well, let me just preface this with a little disclosure here. I can only speak from my personal experience from the communications that I have had with animals. And remember, I usually only communicate with pets. So in my experience, I have been told over and over again that the majority of pets, if they choose to come back, and most don't, but if they choose to come back, they will choose the body, the species of what they just left. So dogs tend to come back as dogs, cats tend to come back as cats, horses, horses, birds, birds,
That's
so on.
interesting.
But there's no rule book in the universe about reincarnation. There's no checklist about, okay, let's go down the checklist. And, I think that if it's in the highest and best for that soul, that animal soul, to experience being in a different type of body, or even human for that matter, if it's in the highest and best for that spiritual growth of that being, I believe anything is possible. And I've had a few rare cases to support that. Of course, you can't prove it, but that's how the messages came through. So again, I'm not speaking about everyone or every pet. I'm just saying, in my experience, this is what I repeatedly heard over and over again, is that if you lost a dog and it wanted to come back, it usually came back in the form of another dog, and so on and so forth.
That makes sense. Why is it so important for you to help others with grief?
I think the grief aspect of it is a really selfish one. I come from a very selfish place when I say that I want to help people with their grief, and I'll explain that. I don't have human children, so I pour my love into my human family and my animal family. So my pets are my children, they are my family, and it's the closest thing that I can relate to having a human child. And when you lose a member of your family, somebody that you love and adore, that loves and adores you so much, I have never experienced such depths of despair and pain as I have when I've lost an animal companion. In some cases, and no offense to my beloved family, but in some cases, the loss has been so overwhelming and paralyzing. When I've lost a pet, I didn't think I was ever going to get through it. I was completely overwhelmed and devastated. And being in that place, that really dark place, and not knowing, I'm speaking personally, at the time, that there was more to life than just the physical world, it's a very dark place to be in. And I carried around grief for 2 decades over one particular pet. And when I finally realized through my work that life continues on, and I was able to finally start healing from that process, that was the most pivotal point in my career. I wanted everyone to heal like I did. I wanted everyone to feel the way that I felt, that I could finally release all of that guilt and blame that I'd been holding on to for years. And so I became very addicted to helping others heal because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something and that I have a purpose in this world. So again, my reasons are very selfish. It's all about how it makes me feel. There's no words to describe what it feels like when you can see a client actually moving through the grief stages and coming into the light again and feeling like they can live the rest of their life and be happy again after the loss of a pet. It's incredible. So that's my motivation, is just for my own personal pain.
Well, what you're saying makes a lot of sense in terms of I think a lot of people that grief is probably equal to losing a child, right?
I think so. I mean, I can't say because I don't have human children, but like I said, it's the best comparison I can make. And those who've lost a human child are probably saying, no, no, Karen, you don't know. And I give you that. I don't know, but I can say this is as close as I can get, is that utter feeling of despair. And I've had clients come to me that have said they don't want to live anymore, that they just want to go be with their pet and they really want to end their own life. That's how deeply affected they are by a loss. I mean, that's some powerful, really powerful stuff to lay on me and to try to help that person get through that. I'm not a grief counselor. I'm not a licensed therapist. I am an animal communicator. And, you know, I only know how it feels to lose somebody that you love so much and that they are with us. They never leave us. There's nowhere else they would want to be than with us because those bonds of love never die. They get stronger and stronger as time goes by, which brings me to another topic. You know, there's no time in the afterlife. What is, 5, 10, 15 years here on earth is nothing on the other side. It's a drop in the pan of existence. And they don't focus on that. They focus on right here, right now, and how you're feeling right here, right now. And, oh, I have a whole other um, area I could go into here on how your pets feel about you when you're grieving and how it affects them. And, what happens when a pet leaves their body. Pets don't grieve when they die. They don't grieve losing us when they die. They don't go to the other side and grieve and say, oh, I really miss my human. I really, they don't do that. They see us grieving because they are around us all the time, and they don't understand why we're so sad. They don't understand why when we think about them, we get so sad. They start to go, I'm making my human feel awful. And it can really mess with some of them. They want to make us feel good. So imagine how discouraged a pet can be when you are grieving endlessly over the loss of them. And that pet's like, but I'm fine. Look at me. I'm happy. I'm alive in the afterlife. And here you are in the depths of grief. So while your grief won't harm them, like it won't stop your pet from their spiritual journey, they can feel you. They can sense you. They know that you're sad. They know that you're grieving. And think about this. If you had a choice to hang around with me when I'm happy or when I'm deeply grieving and so bummed out I can't even get out of bed in the morning, when would you want to hang out with me?
Right, when you're happy, obviously.
So your pets are also, they feed off of your emotions. That's their fuel. So when you're happy and you're generating positivity and you're celebrating your life together and you're remembering all those special moments, you're fueling them. They're like absorbing all of that spiritual fuel, is what I call it. When you're grieving, you're actually draining them, because what is grief? It's heaviness. It pulls you down. and they want to help you, so they come to be with you, and so that pulls them down too. Again, it doesn't harm them, but they can certainly feel and sense your emotions, and you're way more fun to hang out with when you're happy.
I think that's pretty fascinating. So, what maybe I guess someone who has lost a pet should probably do then is when they are thinking of their lost animal, they should try to remember the happy times then, right? And be more, I don't know, positive and looking forward to when they meet again rather than dwelling or being sad. Is that kind of what I'm getting?
Well, that's the stereotypical, approach of I think many people, but the reality is it's not easy to do that. When you're missing someone, just the thought of them, you burst into tears, or just the thought of them sends you back down into that spiral. So here's my suggestion to you. My suggestion to you is that in order to work through grief, now remember, I'm not a grief therapist, I'm not certified. I'm just sharing what I've witnessed. When you honor your feelings, like if you're sad, be sad. Say you're sad. Say, I'm really sad. I'm really missing my pet right now. My heart is broken. And be in that moment. Experience those feelings. Because when you try to push them away, guess what? They come back down the road and they'll be 10 times worse. So if you would just allow yourself to be sad, allow yourself to cry or to not cry. Some people can't. I know I've been in a place sometime where I've been in such utter shock, nothing comes out of me. It's like stillness. But to just allow yourself to be in the pain, it's not fun. Nobody wants to be there, but allow yourself to feel it and try to express yourself in different ways. Like I'm a writer, so for me, I write. I write down what I'm feeling, I write down what's going on with me. Maybe you're a painter, maybe you're a chef, maybe you're a singer, maybe you like to garden, whatever your outlet is, allow yourself to express yourself in that way. So you're helping yourself move through the pain. I don't think we get over a loss. I think we get through it and we learn what our new normal is without that pet or person in our life. It's just a new normal. We have to move forward without them. So what does that life look like? What does it feel like? It hurts. So I don't think it's realistic to say, well, just think happy thoughts, because you're not happy. So it's not honoring your grief. I think you have to honor that and be in that place. Seek help from professionals if you need to. There's tons of places to seek help. There's online support groups. There's professionals, certified professionals you can go see. There's all kinds of different online meetups and different things where you can get the support that you need. But I think that what helps most people is to be heard and be acknowledged. If you're really missing your pet, you need to surround yourself with people who will help you through that and help you honor that. And try to every day end on something positive. So maybe not the whole day are you thinking happy thoughts, but maybe just try to end on something you and your pet did together that was real special to you. Just trying to add like something positive on top of a day of grieving. And then each day it seems to get a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And when you get to the point where you're not feeling that total and complete devastation, that's where it might be the right time to shift and say, what if I took all of the energy that I just spent over the last 2 months grieving and turned that into something positive about that pet? Maybe I want to volunteer at a shelter. Maybe I want to donate and support a pet in need. Maybe I just want to adopt another pet. Whatever it is, you can take all the energy you've been pouring into grief and you can start turning that into a positive experience at your pace. Grief is a long, painful process, and I really think that you have to honor those feelings, because unresolved grief is horrible, and it caused me to live my life completely different because I let that go on for so long. And that's not where you want to be. Your pets want you to be happy. They want you to live your life. They don't want you to dwell in anything that's sad, whether it be about them or anybody else for that matter. So just think, if you took all of that energy and put it into something positive, how much better for your pet, how much better for you. And yes, easier said than done, but that's the process, and those are the steps that I help my clients understand and grasp. It's one day at a time. Sometimes it's hour by hour, minute by minute.
That's great advice. And I think that's part of the human experience, right? I mean, that's part of the reason why we're here, is to experience loss and grief. I mean, it's something that you probably can't really experience in the spirit world or as an energy form, because you know nothing really ever dies or is lost, right?
That's right. The bonds of love never die. So whoever you are connected to in this lifetime, you are connected to for eternity. And I think what you said is so true there. We are here to experience different things as humans. We're spiritual beings in a physical body. We're having a human experience, but we're truly spirit. We're energy. So if you think about it that way, yes, you're meant to experience ups and downs, the good things and the bad things. Our pets are here to help us with all of those experiences. Part of it is the loss of that pet, because if you think about it, we as humans don't learn when everything's happy and hunky-dory. When we learn and grow the most is when we're in the deepest pain, right? That's where we expand our thoughts. That's where we dig deeper. That's where we search for answers. That's where we start questioning, what really happens when we die? Is there life after death? That's where we go. And that's part of why your pets are with you. It's not to harm you or hurt you or cause you pain or grief. That's not it. But you are growing as a spiritual being because of the pets in your life. You are becoming a better person. Even the pets that challenge you, those are your biggest allies, are the ones that challenge you the
Yeah,
most.
I got one of those.
I have one of those too right now. And it's not about punishment, or that you did something wrong, or karma has to play out that you that you have this pet in your life. It's about your spiritual growth, and you're here to learn and grow. And if you can step back from that pet that's maybe being a problem child for you, and say, okay, universe, what is it I'm supposed to learn from this? What am I not getting? Or what lesson do I need to take away from this? And realize that in some format, you probably signed up to learn that lesson, and your pet volunteered to be a part of your life to help you learn that lesson. It really is magical, and it puts purpose to everything. And it even explains when accidents happen. I get that a lot. It's like people contact me when something terrible happens, an accident, and it's like, why is this happening to me? I can't believe this. And I say to those clients, it's part of our learning experience, and you're not being punished. It's not a punishment. It's part of the experience. And just know that there's a bigger, greater purpose out there. Someday you may know those answers, or someday it won't matter. Maybe someday when you get to the other side, you'll have this ability to look back on that and go, I became a better person because of it, or I became a more evolved spiritual being because of that horrible accident. I mean, there's so many different ways you could go in there. And, we're only tapping into a tiny little piece of this puzzle on this show today. There's so much out there that we don't know. There's so much out there that we haven't experienced or wrapped our heads around. That's what I love about this the most, that we've really just scratched the surface, and I'm fascinated by it. I think the idea of life after life and reincarnation and pets in the afterlife, I mean, that's fascinating stuff right there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Can we talk a little bit about some of your written work? And that was well said, by the way. I didn't necessarily want to change, topics, but I think we can end with that. It was very well said, and I definitely feeling the vibe on that. Can we talk maybe a little bit about some of your written work and what you've published?
I would love to. I've written 2 books. My first book, Here All Creatures, It was just basically charting my journey and how I stumbled across this ability as a police officer, and pretty much the story that I shared with you there. There were some pivotal moments in there, and I won't be um, ruin the story here for those who are interested, but there was something really amazing that happened to me. I got a divine message because I had thrown in the towel and I was like, I am not doing this anymore. And I'd really gotten off track of my purpose in this lifetime of communicating with animals. I was so upset by all of the people in my life who weren't supporting me, that were saying really hurtful things to me, weren't understanding my purpose, and I stopped communicating. So I got this divine message, and you have to read the book to find out what happened. But that's what that book is about. It chronicles that story and how I learned to understand their messages, because animals have a different language. So I had to learn their language. It's not like talking to a human. I am mainly clairaudient, which means I hear their words and their sentences. So you may be thinking, okay, that makes sense for a deceased human because humans speak the same language, but how does an animal speak a human language? And that's a great question, but in a nutshell, there's a translation process that takes place. So you have to learn, just like going to a foreign country. Let's say tomorrow you land in Italy. You have to learn language. You have to learn what certain words are. You have to learn the word for pen. You have to learn the word for phone. You have to learn the words. But the more time you spend in Italy, the more you pick up on what those words are. The same is true with animal communication. The more you practice, the more you learn what certain words are. So it's like learning their language. So Hear All Creatures is actual stories from the messages I got from pets and how I learned their language, and how you can learn their language too, because it's really simple. There's nothing hard about this. The hard part comes when you deal with big, heavy topics like grief and pet loss, and that's the hard part. But learning how to communicate with animals is actually very simple, and it doesn't take any special skill or a degree or anything. In fact, it's just some basic steps. So you can learn that too in that book. So, which takes me to the second book, which I just released in 2018. And that's all about the afterlife. In fact, it's called The Amazing Afterlife of Animals. And I'm so proud of it because it is the book that I've taken it to a new level. So what I just shared with you and how healing the messages were from the pets that I was communicating with, and how I could actually see and feel the healing that took place for their mom or dad. I call you their moms or dads. I wrote a book about those stories and the healing that takes place when they get that one message that just blows everything out of the water and changes their perspective about, oh my gosh, the only one who would know that was my dog or my cat or my horse or my parrot or whoever it was. So that's The Amazing Afterlife of Animals. That's full of true stories from actual sessions from pets on the other side.
That's fascinating. Do you have maybe a positive story or experience that you can share of, maybe a client's experience of maybe where they were struggling and you were able to help them through it?
Absolutely. I have a lot of um, sessions that I've had over the years that have really stuck in my heart, and they've really changed my perspective on how powerful this work that I'm doing. I'm just the conduit. I'm just the messenger. There's really a lot more going on behind the scenes. I'm not this amazing person. It's what's happening is amazing. The transformation is amazing. I'm just the messenger delivering the message. But this one particular session, I think, really outlines the power of what can happen. A client contacted me because she was on her way to work one morning and she was late. So she was kind of rushing, and she backed her car out of the driveway and she accidentally backed over her cat. Now the cat survived. So she ran ran it off to the vet, took it to the vet, and it got treated for its injuries. But it later died from complications from that accident. Well, she was devastated, as you can imagine, because she basically blamed herself for killing her cat. And so when I connected with the cat, I got all kinds of different images and different messages. And animals can send messages in many ways. You can get an image or a flash of something. They might give you a feeling, like the feeling of love or the feeling of sorrow or excitement or stress. I mean, you can get feelings, images. And then, like I said, I'm clairaudient, so I can hear words, sounds, names, messages. And I point to my right ear here on screen because that's where I hear them. I hear them in my right ear. I don't know why, but that's just where I hear them. And it's not with my external ear, it's like an inner ear, but it seems to always happen on the right side. It's almost like somebody's whispering right here over my shoulder. So during this particular communication session, I got all kinds of beautiful images from this cat. He showed me what a great mom she was, that she loved and adored him and cared for him. She actually rescued him. He was semi-feral. They had this really beautiful life together. And during none of that conversation did the cat say anything about blaming her for what happened. In fact, that was not even a part of this cat's experience. The cat was experiencing this as just what happened to it. It was just a chance. It wasn't on purpose. So she was blaming herself. The cat didn't blame her. But here's the part that I want to share with you. During the communication session, I kept hearing about an amputated leg. I didn't say anything because first I didn't want to upset the client because that's, a really sad topic. But the cat kept sending it to me. Amputated leg, leg amputated, amputated leg amputated. So I finally got up the courage and I thought, okay, how am I going to say this? Because I knew the cat had died from his injuries, so I figured the cat died because it had its leg amputated. And so I finally said to her, I'm really sorry to bring this up, but I keep hearing about an image, or I keep hearing about an amputated leg. And I said, does that make any sense to you? And I said, I'm really sorry. I know this is a really sensitive topic. Well, total silence on the other end of the phone. And then I heard her start to cry very softly. Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
She said that the cat didn't have its leg amputated, but after the cat passed away, she was in a horrific accident and her leg was amputated.
Whoa. Whoa.
So, what does that mean? This cat was more concerned about how she was because of her leg being amputated than anything about her accidentally running him over. How do you wrap your head around that?
I also think, it proves that our animals stay with us and they're still alive on the other side, right? Because this happened after the cat had already been gone.
After. That's what I mean.
Wow.
I'm getting chills right now, and I'm telling you, Dylan, this is why I love this work so much, because the day I stop getting chills about stuff like this is the day I will stop doing this work. But it's just so powerful and so amazing. When she got that message, all of the grief that she was carrying for running her cat over started to dissipate. I'm not going to say it vanished right on that spot because that's probably not true, but she was able to go, oh my gosh, how did he know? He would only know as if he was with her and saw what she was going through, because it happened after he died.
That's powerful.
I know. That's why I'm here today. That's why I'm talking to you. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I'm writing my next book. That's why I selfishly want to help people heal, because the power of one message. I almost didn't deliver that message because I didn't want to upset her. What a mistake, right?
Right.
So my job is messenger. That's my job. That's it. I'm messenger. I'm here to deliver the message. And if I don't deliver the message, I'm not doing my job. And I take my work very seriously. I don't take myself very seriously, but I take my work very seriously. And I'm really, really, to this day, I am so amazed and fascinated by the messages that come through, because those mind-blowing things like that, and I have hundreds of them. My books are full of these messages, these powerful messages where just one word, one message can move somebody from a place of total and utter despair and grief and move them into a new place where they can start their healing process. Who can say they do that for a living?
Yeah, it's amazing work. Wow. I love your passion too. It comes out, and I think that's important. Doing the kind of work that you do, to be passionate about it and to care so much.
It's like I said, it hits me on such a personal level, to be able to deliver messages that are transforming people's lives, that are moving them from a place that they don't want to live anymore, or that they're in a really dark place, and I'm helping them through that. It's a heavy duty. It's heavy duty if you try to think about it too much, but if you just give it back to the universe and say, you know what, just keep writing, keep sharing, keep guiding people, and you don't get caught up in the hugeness of it. But that's what my book is doing. The Amazing Afterlife of Animals has been a bestseller on Amazon since the day it was released, and it continues to be a bestseller. And it's being released in German, in German-speaking countries. So excited about that. It's going international, and it's taken on a whole life of its own, and I'm so proud of that book. And it's actually written for someone who's grieving. So I don't know about you, but when I'm in pain, I can't wrap my head around big concepts. I can't take in a lot of information. I can't even get up out of bed sometimes, brush my teeth. It's like you're so overwhelmed with your grief and your pain, you don't even want to function on the basic level. So I wrote the book so it's very easy to read. The concepts are very easy to follow. The stories are short. I did that on purpose. I actually have a few people that will say, well, the book wasn't long enough. Well, I didn't want it to be too long. I wanted it to help somebody that was in a really dark place. And when you're in a really dark place, you can't read a big, heavy, thick book about grief and grieving. You need something light and easy to read and simple. So the book is really designed for someone who has lost a pet and is struggling, and they need something to help them through that time. That's how the book is written. And the
Makes a
next
lot
one
of
I'm
sense.
writing right now, that one will be more in depth. In fact, it's going to be full of more stories, but on each of the topics of reincarnation and spirituality and spirit guides and animals on the other side, and every single chapter that I wrote about in The Amazing Afterlife of Animals, I'll be going into more depth. So just to help the reader go a little bit deeper into those areas. I just didn't want to bombard people all at once with these topics and concepts, because it's a lot to take in when you're in that place of grief. So I really try to take care of my reader and help them through this really difficult time that you don't get a lot of support when you've lost a pet. People are like, get another one. You don't get a lot of support. The world is changing, it's getting better, but generally speaking, pet loss is not like one of those things that people are like, oh, wow, I can't imagine how much pain you're in. They just think you should get over it. Get another pet, or do something, but get over it. There's lots of animals out there that need a home. Go give another one a home. Well, I don't want that pet. I want my pet. I'm in pain here. This was somebody very close to me that was there for me. All the times that you weren't there for me, this pet was here for me. All those times that you judged me and said I wouldn't make it or I wasn't good enough, this pet believed in me and loved me no matter what I looked like, no matter what I drove, no matter how much money was in the bank. This pet loved me, and you didn't or wouldn't or couldn't. I mean, there's just so much power behind those relationships. It's it it's our life. And to lose that is losing that support. And it's really, really hard. And that's why I'm writing these books, and that's why I'm helping people, and that's why I'm here today, and that's why we're talking about this, because it's a real thing. Pet loss and grief, it's real, and it's very challenging, and it's different for everyone.
Yeah. And I think you're so right. I mean, oftentimes people do brush it aside as, it's just a pet. You know, what are you so hung up about? But I know, I've had pets in my life, and, one in particular, you know, my wife's life that we lost, that, like, is almost compared to almost losing a child or a family friend. It's just, it's tough. So that being said, that was well said again. The book that you're currently working on, do you have a title, or do you know a release date? Do you have a rough idea?
I wish I did. No. You'll have to tune in. Stay tuned. It's going to be about the afterlife of animals for sure. So if you like The Amazing Afterlife of Animals, you'll love this next book. It's just going to be more in depth. I don't have a cover. I don't have a title. I don't have any of that yet. But it'll be all of that and more. And it's going to focus more on the healing aspect of it, where I didn't really touch on the healing part and how to get through the grief so much, again, because I can only speak from personal experience and what I've helped my clients through. So we're going to touch more on the grief aspect, and how do you get through your grief? What things can you do? Just like we talked about earlier, it's different for all of us. And so I'll be touching a little bit more on that too, but lots of stories from the animals on the other side, and how they help their humans heal, and how they stay in touch with them and continue to send signs and messages. And they do. They're with us all the time. And the most common way they visit us is in our dreams. So if you have a really vivid dream, a very happy, positive, vivid dream about a departed pet, that's a dream visit. A dream or a visitation by a pet will never be sad. That's your subconscious. Those are your feelings of grief playing out in your dream state. A visitation from a deceased pet is always loving, positive, and happy, and you wake up feeling like, oh my God, I just hugged my pet, or I just felt them, or I just, you got to see them, or, you'll wake up just so happy. That is a dream visitation. That's the number one way they come to us.
Wow, that's giving me chills. That actually happened to my wife not too long ago, with her dog. That's fascinating. Can we talk about the programs and services you provide, and maybe the mobile app?
Yes, I would love to. Let me just grab this. I'm going to hope that my screen allows me to hold this up. So here's my two books, The Amazing Afterlife of Animals and Here All Creatures. I hope you can see that. And I also have a mobile app. It is called Boom, Business is Booming. And it's a free app you can download. You can go to my website and get the links for it. It's called Business is Booming for a couple of reasons, but I thought the Karen Anderson app was boring, and who wants to open a Karen Anderson app? But the Boom app is boom because of what happened to me when I realized that animals could communicate with us, and my whole world just exploded. And the Business is Booming is one of my signature coaching programs, where I help people who have a dream and a passion like I do for the animals. I help them launch their dream business. So it's based on one of my signature coaching programs. But I also offer an online course for beginners. If you're thinking that you're drawn to animal communication and you want to learn how to do this, like I said, the steps are very simple. I have an online course. I have a Facebook group for beginners, where you learn with others who are also, excited about tapping into what their animals are saying. And it is called Animal Communication Planet Practice Group. Again, you can find all of this through my website, which is very simply KarenAnderson.net. And I also have several other coaching programs for more advanced animal communication students. I do one-on-one coaching with a program that takes you very in-depth and helps you launch your own animal communication business, or if you just want to practice for your own personal reasons, it helps sharpen your skills. Kind of a lot going on, Dylan.
You're doing great work. It sounds like helping to raise the vibration of the planet and helping others to heal and to get in touch with their lost loved ones. I love it. It's a beautiful thing. And thanks again for coming on the show. Please be in touch, and maybe we can get you back on when your next book gets released.
I would love it. And thank you for this opportunity today. And, the one thing I want to leave you with is, our pets are gifts to us. We don't know how long we're going to have them in our lives. So honor them and celebrate them while you have them. And after they've passed, keep saying their names out loud. They love the attention. And remember, those bonds of love never die.
That's great advice. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today.